Hi, and welcome to this talk about the new features of Odoo Sign that we've introduced in Odoo 16. My name is Damien. I've been with Odoo for 7 years now, more or less. First as a developer, and now since 2022 as a product owner, which is kind of a product manager in charge of several applications, including Odoo Sign, hence why I'm presenting this to you today. Today I will go through several new features that we've introduced with Odoo 16, as well as several, let's call them casual simplifications or simplifications of the interface, so that Odoo Sign gets easier to use by both your employees and your customers. The reason behind this is that Odoo now comes with batteries included, and what I mean by that is that Odoo now comes with a lot more applications pre-installed by default, including Sign. The philosophy behind this is that we include a lot more applications that are useful to your employees, even if it's not really part of your usual day-to-day flow. For example, signing documents, well, most business or organizations will need to at some point. That's why we've decided to include this, especially now that applications come with no extra cost. So we've simplified the experience both for internal users and for external users or customers. And we've also added new features. These new features that I will demo to you today are the signing order, the fact that you can define the order in which recipients will get email notifications about signatures, the refusal flow, which allows you to mark a document as being refusable by the customer. I'll explain the history behind this change and the reason why it's kind of contentious in a few minutes. We also allow you to change who gets to sign after the fact, after sending the request. So we call this the signatory change. And also some mobile improvements when signing on the go, for example, and some new menus and features that I will detail as we go along. So enough talking, let's dive in. First of all, you can see that I have a lot more default application than before. As I said, you can of course uninstall whatever you don't like, but here I kept everything as is. And I'm going to go into the sign application, and before we dive into the demonstration flow, I would like to go through the settings and the roles that I've set up here. Let's go through the settings because it will be a good way to have a way to discuss these new features. The terms and conditions were there before in Odoo 15, so nothing new there. It just allows you to include some static terms and conditions in the email request that you send. Identify with It's Me is a new option that we introduced in Odoo 16, which I will not demo, unlike some some people might not like it, but I will not demo it because it's only available in the Belgium and the Netherlands markets. It allows you to force your customers or your signatories to identify themselves using the It's Me identity platform when they sign. But I will disable it for now. This works on a credit system on the in-app purchase platform of Odoo, and we've made it super easy to buy these credits. The same way we've made it easier to buy credits for SMS one-time passcodes that you can also send at the end of a signature flow. That way you can know that your customer is in control of a specific phone number. We've made it easier to buy these SMSs. We've also added the new signing order feature I just talked about, which, as the description says, allows to define a signing order where recipients are only notified when it is their turn to sign. It's quite powerful. We'll discuss it in a minute. It needs to be enabled globally because we believe that it's a rather advanced use case that most SMEs won't need. So if you want it, you need to enable it first. We've also added new access controls on templates. They're not actually new, but before they were difficult to get to. Now, if you enable this option in the settings, when you create or modify a template, you can select users and or security groups that should be allowed to access this template, and no other users than those with the security group you selected or the user you selected will have access to that. This is new as well. As I said, the behavior was there before. It was just difficult to access. Now it's super easy. That's it for the settings. The other thing I would like to show you are the roles that I've configured, or at least that come configured by default. I've modified them a little bit more so that I've checked this changed authorized checkbox. What this means is that later on I can change who's supposed to sign after I've sent the request. We'll show that in the demo. But I've enabled this for the customer and employee roles, which are both roles that I will use in my demo. So our setup is done. I can now send my first request. And the immediate change you can see here is that we've simplified the sending screen quite a lot. Indeed, in the past, you had quite a few options that we now moved to this Options tab, which were kind of overwhelming if you're not familiar with Odoo Sign yet, or if you just want to send a signature document super fast. So now you can indeed focus on who needs to sign and what you want to say to them. With that, you can just click on Send and get going. If you want to enable more advanced options, you can go to this tab. As I said, we have the refusal flow that I will detail later on, and the signing order. The signing order is a real powerful addition to Sign, which allows you to make sure that some users will only get notified once everything is ready for them to sign. A typical use case might be, for example, if you sign employment contracts using Odoo Sign, you might want to avoid bothering your HR team until the candidate has signed themselves. That way they only get a notification if the candidate is really agreeable to the contract and sign, and then only you will disturb them and ask them to sign the document. When I enable this option, I get here a new field that I need to fill in for each role, defining the signing order. And as you can see, it's an integer. What this allows you to do is really quite powerful, as you can put the same number for different roles. Here, I have only 2 people who need to sign, so it's rather limited. But it could be a document for 3, 4, or 5 people. And if that's the case, then you have a lot of flexibility. If you want, you can keep everything super simple and just put the same number to everybody. That means that everybody gets the notification at the same time. You can put them in incrementing order. So signer 1 might be order 1, signer 2 might be order 2, and signer 3 might be order 3. That means that only when the previous person has signed will the signer 2 get the notification, for example, and same for signer 3. That's the simple use cases, but you can also go a little bit wild and in fact have people signing in parallel. For example, I can only decide that the 4th signer should get the notification after signer 2 and 3 have signed, but these 2 should get the notification at the same time when signer 1 has finished. We can completely do that with Odoo 16. It's super easy. You just need to fill in these fields. Here I want my employee to be second, so I'm going to leave my customer as the first to sign. I'm going to put my employee Bruce as the second one to sign. He will get the notification only when Jane has signed. So let's add a little message to my request and send. Once I've sent the document, I get to this recap screen, let's call it. I can see that both states of my signatories are in blue. They are colored blue. That means that they haven't signed yet. And I can see that the email to Jane has been sent already because it's suggesting to resend it. And the email to Bruce has not been sent yet because, well, we're waiting for Jane to sign first. So I'm going to go check the emails that went out of my system. I can see that there is only one to Jane. And I can sign my document. If you were careful or attentive in the first step of this demo, you might have noticed that I checked the refusal, or that I enabled the refusal flow for this request. That means that both Jane and Bruce, it doesn't matter, can refuse officially, let's say, to sign this document. Now, why would you want to do this? The idea for this feature comes from a lot of feedback we've received regarding the laws about electronic signatures, especially in the United States. Indeed, in the United States, the law states that your customers or whoever needs to sign a document must be able to refuse to sign electronically, meaning that they must be able to ask about signing a paper document instead. What most systems and companies understood is that you have to officially integrate this refusal flow in your system for your electronic signature system to be legal. That's really not the case. What this means is that the customer needs to be able to refuse. The way that they want to refuse is not codified in the law at all. Instead of using this system, I would in fact argue that calling your customers or sending them an email or having them reply to your email is probably a more human and comfortable way of dealing with this problem. So I would obviously not advise anyone to use this refusal flow, but it's still there if you want to, or if you need to convince your customer that you are respecting the law, well, you can, the system is there. So that's the refusal flow. Let's put that aside for now. As I said, I don't really advise using it, so let's go on as if it wasn't there. I'm going to sign as Jane. We can see now that since Jane is signing, her name is in black. Bruce hasn't signed it, so it's still blue. So Jane is ready, the date is correct, it's automatically suggested today's date, that's fine. And when I sign, you will also see a new improvement we've added to Odoo, which is this security frame. The security frame will be added to all external signatures. So Jane here, she's a customer, not an employee of the system. She cannot disable it. And what it does is first allow you to deduce or at least see super easily on documents that they were signed using Odoo Sign. So if you receive a printout of a document or someone forwards some document to you by email, you can immediately know that it was signed with Odoo and that you can ask for a traceability report, for example, or that you have the complete technical security of having the integrity of the document checked at each step. So it's not just something that got scanned, for example. Second of all, it will also include this hash here, which is based on the identity of the of the person who's signing and the underlying Odoo instance. And what this means is that across documents, I can follow that it's indeed the same Jen Foster who signed every time. It's the same user who signed every time. I'll show you that because this hash here, obviously a hash is a bit long to include there. So we just include a few characters and the complete hash is in the traceability report that I will show in a minute. So I can finish signing as Jane. I'm all done. I can just validate and send and close this window for now. And now that Jane has signed, Bruce has received the invitation email because he was next in the signing order. But I've been kind of distracted and I forgot completely that Bruce was on holiday for a few weeks, so I cannot ask him to sign. But on the other hand, I would like to ask someone else to sign without having to resend the complete document from the start, because then I would need to ask my customer to sign again, which is kind of unprofessional. So I can go to Documents, check the documents that need to be signed. I see here that it's the Bruce's signature. I can go to Details and edit the signature requests. And that means that since I checked on the employee role in the start at the configuration that it could be changed, that I can change it. So I can instead say, okay, that's not Bruce who's supposed to sign, it's Mark. And if I save, I can just send the email to Mark and now Mark can sign. Notice, of course, that even though the customer role is also allowed to be changed, I cannot change this now because Jane has already signed. So obviously I cannot ask someone else to sign this role. It's already been filled. So now Mark has to sign. I could go and check the emails received, but instead I will go to this private window here and identify as Mark in a mobile browser so that you can get a sense of what the mobile experience is like, and we've improved it quite a lot with Odoo 15. We've added a new menu here, which is not specific to the mobile version, but which allows you to immediately find all the documents that are waiting for you. It can be super useful if you sign a lot of documents every day. And I have here the request that is waiting for me for this signature, and I'm going to sign now. I can see that Jane has already finished signing because this this status here is green, and Mark is in black because, well, I'm the one who is currently signing. I'm on a mobile device, and this is a full A4 or a paper letter PDF. It's unreadable. Of course, I'm going to have to zoom in. And in the past, what happened if you zoomed in or if you tried to fill in the data is that we would zoom and center the screen on whatever it was you were filling so that you could see what you were writing. The problem was that it took a huge amount of visual space, and so you lost all context of what you were signing, where you were in the document, and this kind of information that is very important when signing. Now we've made it so that you always have the zoom level preserved and the context of your signature preserved so that you know what you are signing. So here I'm signing Mark. Obviously on a mobile device the keyboard will also take part of the display, but here we still have the context of the document itself. So I'm filling my name, the date is also correct. And you can see here that for Mark we have decided not to include the security frame. For internal users this is an option, they can remove it. I've removed it for Mark, it's fine by me. I can finish this flow and send this document. Everybody has signed. If I now go check the certificate, I can see that the screen hash, the signatory hash for Jane, which is 335 blah 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 blah, is indeed the one that is included here in this document. Actually, I'm going to download the document, it will be faster. And we have indeed the same hash. So this hash will follow Jane wherever, whatever document she signs inside the database. Of course, we have also integration with email flows. You receive email when you need to sign a document. You receive emails when a document has been signed. By the way, if you use the refusal flow I spoke about earlier, it will also send an email to all participants with the justification you provided for the refusal. But we've still improved a little bit the system with Odoo 16. Now it is possible to reply to request emails. So for example, if I take this request in the past, when you clicked reply in Gmail, for example, the reply that you would send would land in Odoo and most likely be lost and not seen by anyone. Now we've made it so that if you reply, you will actually reply to the person who sent it to you. So in this case, me, so admin@example.com. Obviously the email is kind of ridiculous, but that's the idea. The reason it will not go into Odoo and instead go into directly the email inbox of the user is that it would be kind of imprudent to have different people speaking on the same signature request, because they might not know each other, and also they might not know who else is included. They might not know who each role is. And so we decided to instead focus on the mail inbox only at the moment. Finally, and I just need to change tab, we've included a new green savings report, which can help you motivate your employees to use e-signatures. Of course, these numbers are dynamic and depend on the usage of the application that you do. Here, this is a demo database with not a lot of documents, so obviously these numbers are kind of low. If I switch you to a real use case, which is Odoo.com's database, so is the sneak peek at our own production database, you can see that over the probably 5 or 6 years we've used Odoo Sign. We've sent 200,000 sheets of paper, 83,000 liters of water, nearly 8 metric tons of CO2. So that's a really nice incentive to remind your employees why signing electronically make a lot of sense. And that's, well, mostly it. We've seen how you can use the signing order to make sure that your signatories get notified one after the other and not all at once. We've seen how you can use the refusal flow to allow your customers to refuse signing a document electronically, even though I would advise to do that using more direct communication channels such as email or phone. You can also change who the signature request was sent to after the fact. For example, if you realize that a customer has changed email or has left the company, for example. And we've also shown a little bit more changes that we've done throughout the applications, like the fact that the mobile experience is a bit simpler, that we've now access management for templates. You can also add tags on a request after the fact if you want for classification and other kind of improvements. So thank you very much for your attention during this tour. And well, either you're watching live, and in that case there is a Q&A coming up, so stay tuned. And if you're not watching live, well, I hope everything is good whenever and wherever you are. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bad.
Some questions here. So before we sign this, the rest of the sales example.
At the moment, we don't have a deep integration. We have some integration with the document application to integrate signed documents in your workflows, but it's rather limited. We are in the process of discussing some deeper integrations, for example, having an official signing step with all the traceability of the sign application when you confirm a sales order, for example, because I know that's something that a lot of people want. We have at the moment in sales the possibility to sign, but it does not come with the full traceability of the signing application and the signing report. But that's something that we are possibly planning on working on. Of course, nothing is certain yet, but I'll keep you updated in about a year, I think.
Thank you. Is it possible to have email templates linked to the...
No, not
the
yet.
signing?
There is a technical reason for that. It's a little bit more complicated because we... I don't remember the exact technical reason. I know that it has to do with the fact that some stuff is not able to be done in a template properly when we split the emails by recipient. It's something that we have in the pipe. No promises. I don't know when it will come, but at the moment it's not using email templates yet. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. And how can we know the level of certification that is engaged?
Alors, it's quite easy. It's the question I get all of the time. By the way, I told Robin, don't worry, there will be question. This one will come. I know it comes every time. So at the European level, we have 3 levels of signatures. We have the simple electronic signature, the advanced electronic signature, and the qualified one. At Odoo, we only do the simple one. The reason is that if you want to do advanced or qualified, you need an external setup. We cannot do that with an on-premise installation. It just won't work. You need a certified timestamping server. You need a whole infrastructure. We, at the moment, don't want to do that. That's why we stick to simple signature, especially because, well, in most business cases, if not nearly all business cases, I don't know if you know this, but basically an SMS that says, OK, deal, is legal. It's sufficient, and it has been received in court a lot of times and proved in court a lot of time. With Sign, you have a number of proof that is astounding. You have the traceability, the inalterability of the document can be proven by code. You have the fact that you can prove identities using It's Me or SMS. So you have a lot of convergent proofs that your document has been signed by who you say it has been signed. And so we don't think that for most businesses it's a real need. And by the way, if partners are listening, I would advise you to tell your customers that they probably don't need, unless they're a notary agency or something very official, they probably don't need to do anything more than that. It's perfectly legal, and by the way, I've actually never heard, I think, of any court issue where the fact that the contract was signed was the problem. The issue is usually the content of the contract and the delivery of the contract. The fact that it was signed is usually not really an issue. So that's a non-issue for us, and that's why we don't want to set up the whole shebang of a cloud infrastructure just to do that. So that's it.
Okay, thanks. You talk about It's Me, but is it possible to include it other EID devices? So, for example, Lux Trust. I don't know.
Funny story, because we actually hesitated between It's Me and Lux Trust, because Lux Trust does provide access to It's Me in an indirect way. I mean, as a partner, if you want to integrate that in your code, it's perfectly possible. Though I would assume that you're probably not going to have a strong relation with Lux Trust or It's Me, because you're probably going to be a smaller solution. So technically, of course, everything is possible. At the moment, we are in the discovery phase of this new ID. So we're trying it in Belgium and the Netherlands. We'll see a little bit how it goes with Odoo 16 if people use it, because of course this is a credit system, credit-based system. So it can cost quite a lot of money if you use a lot of electronic signatures. So we're still seeing if we want to do that for other countries or not. It also depends a lot on the countries, because, for example, if you take France, the electronic means of identification in France is rather abysmal. We don't want to invest a lot of energy, time and money to develop a solution that only 6% or 7% of the population can in fact use, because the other 90-something% don't have any way to identify themselves electronically. So it also depends on the country, but of course everything is still in flux, and we're just testing that in Belgium because, well, it's the home market, you know, and it's easier to test it here.
Perfect. And can we use another SMS provider?
That's a good question. I'm not an expert on the IAP integrations that we have. I do believe that the SMS, let's call it provider system inside of the Odoo code itself is kind of plug and play, so you can probably replace it at the technical level. But as an end user, if you wish to just switch from what Odoo uses to someone else, you're gonna need a partner at the minimum, or some module from the App Store maybe, but not through us. That's not possible to choose now.
Okay. I have a last one. eSign, EIDAS, I don't know what is it. Compliant.
Actually, I already replied that EIDAS is the electronic signature legal framework from Europe. That's what when I talked about the levels of signature, that's what I meant. We are at the... Basically, EIDAS says that any electronic signature is legally valid. That means that, as I said, OK in an SMS or in an email is fine. It's fine. You can, as long as you can somewhat prove with enough, side proofs that it was indeed the person who you say it was, then it's fine. The court will not really care that it was by SMS or by email or by Odoo Sign or by being present. It's fine. It doesn't matter. And that's the same in the US, even though the naming is a little bit different.
Thank you. Thank you, Damien.
Thank you very much. I see that the timer is blinking. We're right on time. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a very good last day at Odoo experience. And I hope to see you all back next year in person, if possible. See you. Thank you very much.